I lost someone, and not in the way people usually mean. They didn't die. They didn't move across the world. They're still here, somewhere. They're living, laughing, probably making new memories. But they're not here in my life anymore. And that kind of loss, the kind where someone disappears from your story without a funeral, without a clear reason, is one of the hardest to explain. How do you grieve someone who didn't die, but just stopped showing up? How do you talk about a heartbreak that wasn't romantic, a silence that wasn't caused by shouting, a distance that wasn't measured in miles? I don't even remember when it started. The drift, the fade, the way we stopped calling just because the way the how are you messages became fewer, colder, eventually non existent. One day, they were part of everything, my jokes, my plans, my thoughts, and then gradually they weren't. I didn't want to believe it at first. I thought it was a phase. I told myself, they're just busy. I made excuses on their behalf. I waited for them to reach out. I replayed our old conversations, our inside jokes, the ridiculous things we laughed about at 2 a.m. I miss them in the way you miss oxygen when you only realize you haven't breathed in a while. They were that natural, that present, that essential. We weren't lovers, maybe not even best friends, but they were someone I let see parts of me that most people don't get close to. They knew the things I liked to pretend didn't bother me. They knew what kind of silence I needed on bad days. They understood the exact tone of my I'm fine and knew when it meant the opposite. And I truly believed, that they'd be around. Not forever. I don't believe in forever. But I believed in long enough to matter, long enough to make it through whatever this life throws at people. But I was wrong. Or maybe I wasn't wrong. Maybe life just moved in a way we didn't. Maybe it was no one's fault. Or maybe it was both of ours. Either way, I found myself staring at my phone, wondering why I hadn't heard from them in weeks, then months. Then I stopped counting. At first, I thought of them every day. Every little thing reminded me, a song, a meme, a quote. I'd find myself reaching for my phone, ready to send it their way, then freezing, realizing, what if they don't reply? What if I'm the only one still holding on? I didn't want to be that person, the one who can't let go. But letting go felt like a betrayal, like I was giving up on something real, on something rare. So I held on, quietly, painfully. I'd still check their social media sometimes, not obsessively, just enough to know they were okay, that they were alive, that their life was still moving, and that mine wasn't. Not in the same way. I didn't tell anyone. How do you explain this kind of grief? There's no headline for it, no socially accepted ritual. You don't get sympathy cards when a friend fades away. There's no I'm sorry for your loss when the loss is invisible. So I carried it in silence. I missed them in small ways, the way I'd instinctively want to message them when something good or bad happened. The way I'd hear something and think, they'd laugh at that. The way their absence was loudest in my quietest moments. I tried to be okay. I told myself people grow apart, that we outgrow connections, that it's normal. But knowing something is common doesn't make it hurt less. Knowing other people have felt this kind of loss doesn't fill the space they left. I still think about them sometimes, when I pass our favorite spot, when I hear a phrase they used to say, when I have a moment I wish they could see. And sometimes I imagine what I'd say if we ever talked again. Would I be kind? Would I be cold? Would I pretend I wasn't hurt? Would I let it all out? I don't know. I really don't. Because part of me still hopes they'll come back. Not because they have to, but because they want to. Because they miss me too. Because the space between us wasn't silence, it was waiting. But hope like that is dangerous. It keeps you stuck. It keeps you from healing. So I'm learning, slowly, painfully, to accept the silence, to make peace with unanswered questions, to let go of the version of them I held on to in my head. They were important. They mattered. And maybe that's enough. Maybe they were meant to walk beside me only for a while. Not because I wasn't worthy of staying, but because some people are only meant to teach you how deep you can feel, how much you can care, and how strong you can become when they're no longer there. I think the strangest part is how everything else kept going. The world didn't pause. The seasons changed. People laughed around me. The trains still ran. Deadlines still came. The coffee still brewed every morning like nothing had shifted, and yet inside me, something was missing. It wasn't just them, it was the version of me that existed when they were around. I lost a part of myself when I lost them. The way I smiled differently when they were near. The way my voice sounded softer, more sure. The way my laughter came quicker. That version of me, the one that only existed in the space between us, is gone too. And grieving that version hurts in a way no one talks about. No one warns you that when people leave, they take parts of you with them. Not out of malice, not intentionally. It's just what happens when two lives intertwine for long enough. I've gone through the phases: denial, anger, bargaining, sadness, and now, mostly stillness, not quite acceptance, just quiet. There are days when I feel okay, days when I don't think about them, when I laugh without feeling like I'm betraying our memories, when I tell a story that doesn't involve them and it feels natural. And then there are days when I see something, a movie, a quote, a stupid meme, and I instinctively think, I have to send this to them before I remember. I don't have that access anymore. I don't have the right anymore. That space is closed, rented to someone else maybe, or maybe just left empty. I used to believe that people who matter always find their way back to each other, that real connections don't break, they bend, that love in any form is a thread too strong to snap completely. I'm not sure I believe that anymore. Sometimes people don't come back. Sometimes they don't even look back. And that's what breaks you, not just that they left, but that they're okay without you, that they're fine without the version of we you're still grieving. And yet, somehow, you still love them, still hope they're okay, still send them silent wishes on nights when the world feels heavy and quiet. It's a strange thing, to miss someone and want nothing from them, to not want them back, but still ache in the spaces they used to fill. That's the kind of missing that lingers. That's the kind that becomes part of your story. I've started to tell the truth more when people ask me why I seem distant, why I look tired, why I hesitate before getting close. I used to lie, say I was fine, that I just needed time. Now, I just say, I lost someone, and most people don't ask more. They assume I mean death, and maybe that's easier, because explaining the loss of someone still living feels impossible. It feels like trying to describe a shadow, a scent, a sound that fades the moment you try to capture it. But the truth is, I'm healing, slowly in the quiet. I'm learning to fill my days with people who stay, people who ask, "How are you really?" and wait for the answer. People who don't make me earn love by being perfect, who let me be messy, tired, real, and most importantly, who don't disappear when things get inconvenient. I'm learning that not everyone will leave, that not everyone is temporary, that I can build new memories without betraying the old ones, that I can honor what was without staying stuck in it, and that maybe the point wasn't to hold on. Maybe the point was to feel it all, to break, to mourn, to remember, and then to become someone new. There are still moments when I wonder if they ever think about me, if somewhere in the middle of their day something triggers a memory, maybe a coffee shop we used to sit in, a phrase I always said, a random photo buried deep in their gallery. I wonder if it ever catches them off guard the way it does me. If they ever smile sadly and whisper, "I hope they're okay." I'll never know. And maybe that's for the best. Some things are more tender when left unanswered. Closure doesn't always come in words. Sometimes it's found in the quiet acceptance that the story is over, even if the ending wasn't written. I've stopped chasing the why, the what if, the version of the story where we stayed connected, because I've realized sometimes we lose people we weren't supposed to keep forever. And that's not failure, that's life. People come into our world and change it, sometimes in loud, chaotic ways, sometimes so gently we don't even notice until they're gone. And even when they leave, what they gave us, the memories, the growth, the shifts, they stay. I'm no longer trying to erase their presence from my life. I'm learning to carry it differently, not as a wound, but as a part of the map that led me here. They were part of my becoming, not the whole story, but a chapter I wouldn't skip. I still have moments where I flinch when I see someone who looks like them, where I instinctively search for their name in old group chats, where I reread old messages and wonder who that version of me was, the one who believed we were unbreakable. I miss that version of me too, but I'm also proud of the me that's still here, the one who kept showing up, who learned how to be okay in the absence, who found new laughter, new softness, new peace. It didn't come all at once. It came in pieces, in long walks alone, in songs that said what I couldn't, in friends who didn't try to fix me but just sat with me. Healing is never loud. It's not a declaration. It's a series of tiny decisions. To get up, to try again, to not reach out, to delete the draft message, to stop checking, to focus on what's here now. I've learned to love people differently, more gently, with more honesty. I no longer assume people will stay, but I also no longer fear that they'll leave. I've accepted that people come and go, but the love we share, even if it ends, is still real, still worthy, still sacred. I don't regret loving them. I don't regret believing in the connection. Even if it ended, even if it hurt, I'd do it again, not because I enjoy the pain, but because it taught me something about myself, about connection, about the kind of heart I have, one that still dares to open, even after it's been broken. If you've ever lost someone like that, someone alive but distant, I want you to know it's okay to miss them. It's okay to grieve what you shared. It's okay to hold a soft place in your heart for someone who no longer fits in your life. That doesn't make you weak. It makes you human. It makes you someone who felt deeply, who cared honestly, who gave something real. And that matters. Even if they're not here to see it, even if they never come back, you're still allowed to heal. You're still allowed to grow. You're still allowed to become more than the loss. You are not defined by who left. You are not just the person who was left behind. You are the person who stayed, who survived, who kept loving even in the silence. And that is strength beyond measure. I've learned to stop filling the silence with noise. I no longer rush to replace the space they left. I let it breathe. I let it echo. I let it remind me of what once was, without demanding it to return. There's something sacred in that, in not needing closure to feel complete, in not needing a final conversation to move forward. Not every ending comes with a bow. Some just drift into the distance like fog, slowly, gently, until you can't see it anymore, but you remember how it felt. And maybe that's the only closure we get sometimes. I've started finding beauty in different places, in people who show up without fanfare, in conversations that are simple but real, in the quiet joy of being understood, even just a little. I don't need fireworks anymore. I don't need people to promise forever. I just want truth, presence, consistency. I want the kind of connection that feels like exhaling, where I don't have to perform to be loved, where I don't have to explain myself every time. I'm still healing, that's the truth. But healing isn't linear. It's not a staircase, it's a spiral. Some days I'm fine, some days I miss them so much it aches in places I forgot existed. Some days I feel like I've moved on, some days I want to write to them. But I don't, not because I don't care, but because I've learned to care from afar. I've learned that not every feeling needs to become a conversation, that not every ache needs to be shared. Some things are meant to be held gently, quietly, with reverence. I still love them, in a soft, detached way, in a way that doesn't expect anything, in a way that hopes they're happy wherever they are. I think that's what maturity looks like. Loving without needing, remembering without reopening, wishing well without reaching out. If you're listening to this and you've lost someone like that, I want you to know you're not weak for feeling it deeply. You're not broken for taking a long time to let go. You're not foolish for hoping or for remembering. The world moves fast. It tells us to get over things, to move on, to be stronger. But I think real strength is in the softness, in allowing yourself to feel the full weight of the goodbye, in letting the grief shape you, not destroy you, in becoming someone who can still believe in connection, even after losing it. So here's what I know now. Some people will leave. Some goodbyes won't make sense. Some questions won't have answers, but even in the absence, you can grow. Even in the silence, you can find peace. Even in the loss, you can rediscover yourself. You are allowed to miss them. You are allowed to wish it had ended differently. But you are also allowed to keep going, to laugh again, to love again, to live again. One small step, one quiet breath, one new chapter at a time. You're not alone. You never were. And the love you gave, it still matters. It always will, even if they're gone, especially because they were here.